first cases or group case of hoofed livestock bought from the United States. 20% of a batch of 94 goats have been found to be compromised with the Queensland or Q fever disease, a zoonotic illness that could easily transit to humans and cause flu-like symptoms. The DA has since responded to include blacklisting the importer and suspending concerned Bureau of Animal Industry officials. As we hear more from Clazel Cardelia.
The Bureau of Animal Industry can be seen culling goats in Santa Cruz, Marinduque, and Pampanga in these photos. According to BAI officials, these goats imported from the United States underwent depopulation after testing positive for Queensland's or Q fever disease. This marks the first confirmed case of Q fever disease in the Philippines. Q fever, a zoonotic disease affecting goats, sheep, and cattle, poses a risk to human health, potentially causing flu-like symptoms.
Zoonotic po, yung bacteria niya natra-transmit dun sa tao, and then pag nakuha siya ng tao, talagang parang magre-replicate din siya doon. Natra-transfer po siya via ticks and sa mga urine and feces po, and birthing fluids po nung mga alaga natin na kambing.
The incident began in January when the government and private sector jointly imported 94 breeding goats, subsequently placing them under quarantine in Pampanga. Several goats exhibited symptoms of Q fever disease and were promptly examined. However, reports indicate that some animals were transferred to a government breeding farm in Santa Cruz, Marinduque. On June 20, the BAI received confirmation that 19 samples from the 94 goats tested positive for Q fever during the final confirmatory tests. In response, the BAI has intensified surveillance and monitoring efforts, not only in areas where infected goats have been traced, but also among individuals handling them. As of now, no human case of Q fever disease have been reported in the country.
The Department of Agriculture has created a special fact-finding committee to investigate possible violations and irregularities of some Bureau of Animal Industries officials and employees in relation to the entry of Q fever disease in the country.
Mag-iimbestiga ng lahat ng mga pangyari, paano nakarating yung sakit at paano nailabas at paano nakarating sa local government. Ito lahat ay pag-aaralan.
Nevertheless, as precautionary measure, preventive suspension have been implemented on employees involved in the importation process. A temporary ban on goats imported from the United States will soon be enforced, and the responsible importer is sure to be blacklisted. The BAI reassures the public that goats in the country remain safe for consumption, emphasizing that swift containment measures have effectively mitigated the spread of the disease.
Safe pa rin po, basta make sure po natin lagi na yung mga kinakain natin is naluto ho natin mabuti. And yung mga milk, especially ngayon, nauuso yung milk ng goat, kailangan more on pasteurized.
Meanwhile, the Department of Health assures a thorough assessment of risk to human health status is being conducted. Symptoms in humans develop within 2 to 3 weeks after exposure, and they're common on non-specific and mild. This include fever, fatigue, headache, cough, and vomiting. Q fever can be cured by antibiotics widely available in the Philippines. The DOH urged the public to avoid contact with animals suspected to have Q fever. If exposure is suspected, do not hesitate to consult with the nearest hospital or clinic. Clazel Cardelia for the New and Better Philippines.